Okay, Derbyites, Survivor 41, episode 4. I think it's called "You If You Ain't Me, You Hate Me," or "You Hate Me If You Ain't Me." I don't know. But anyway, we're gonna break it all down. The Mafia pastor Shan stealing the vote, or not stealing, but taking JD's vote and then stabbing him in the back. What did you think, Kevin?
I mean, what a superstar. I'm loving Shan, honestly. One of my faves of whatever this new era is, truly. But honestly, I'm kind of two minds about this whole vote and how it went down. I do think it was a very fun blindside. Certainly didn't see it coming. I love that she just got his extra vote like that. And I think it does set up her and Ricard pretty well to just move forward as at least as a duo. I sort of thought that JD was going to sort of be like a solid trio with them, but I think in the end, they probably assumed that he might be too erratic to keep around. So I don't know. I'm curious to see how this all works out because Genie doesn't seem to really like Ricard and the feeling seems to be mutual. So don't know how that's all going to play out.
Yeah, what do you think, Marcus?
Yeah, Shan, she did steal it. She stole the vote. She manipulated him and got his advantage. And I don't know if I'm okay with that or not. I do like that she brought back her theme song and she hummed a little tune as she was talking to the camera. I loved JD though. I wanted to see JD make it a little bit further in the show. Was this the right move for them to make though? I don't know. Like they really did have JD in their pocket. This guy trusted them so much to give them an advantage twice just to hold on to. Whereas Genie, I mean, you saw how Genie flipped out at the beginning of the episode after Brad's elimination. I mean, she is ready to turn on these people as soon as they merge. So I think they made the wrong decision.
Shan's been my favorite character this season, but I sort of agree with you. Like, this is the second week in a row we've seen her, like, just get rid of someone who, like, is giving her a lot of trust. Like, someone who seemed like they weren't going to be going against Shan anytime soon, and she gets them out of the game. So, like, we didn't see Genie use her shot in the dark. She voted JD, she didn't vote Ricard, so it looks like there was a conversation had, and that, like, you know, Shan, maybe she feels really good about Genie now, but I still sort of agree with you. Genie was burnt by Shan. JD trusted her enough to give her his vote again. It seemed like an interesting call to get rid of him, particularly given that, like, she could have done the same thing last episode. So she sort of just, why didn't she take the shot against JD then if that was where she was going to land? So no, I sort of agree with you. I think that wasn't the right move. And again, probably another move where Shan's made a big move, but probably I feel like it puts Ricard in a slightly better position. Because I think if they'd gone to tribal again and JD was still in the game and he had another vote, then he probably puts his 2 votes on Ricard. Shan and Ricard put their 2 votes on JD, and sort of Shan avoids the drama. Whereas I feel like Ricard's in a better spot with Genie, Shan, and Ricard, because just Shan and Ricard will put their 2 votes on Genie. What do you think, Kevin? Was this it was a fun move. It was a big move by Shan. Was it the right move?
Yeah, my concern, honestly, with Shan in general is that I do love her, but I almost think she's playing way too hard, too fast. Like, these are the kinds of moves that are typically reserved for like a post-merge situation where you're really making the flashy moves. And I worry that, like, down the line, if she gets down to the final jury position, that is she going to be talking about like all these big moves she made in the pre-merge when like people weren't even around to see all of this to begin with, just in terms of her building her resume. But no, I do think it was a little too risky, I would say. I do think the pre-merge should be kind of reserved for like safer decisions, and you kind of save these kinds of bigger moves for later on. So, I can sort of see the reason why it happened. I think, the idea of them getting to another tribal council and JD having an extra vote, that could maybe complicate things. Whereas in this case, they can just both take out Genie very easily. So I don't know. It's a tough call, I would say.
I also wanted to add about Ricard. I love Ricard. He's my pick to win right now, but he is so being overshadowed by Shan on his tribe. It seems to me like every decision being made is her decision. She's the one that keeps getting JD to give her stuff, and he didn't know about Brad's advantages. Like, this is the Shan tribe, and Ricard is just coming along for the ride.
I agree. And I think, like, if Ricard were to win the season, I don't think that's a bad winner's pick at all, Marcus. He would probably not be wanting to sit next to Shan at the end. Now, he's got plenty of game to get her out or for her to be voted out. But I do think he will need some time playing his own game a bit, because I think if it's him and Shan, she will probably, if it keeps going the way it's going, she would win. I do think the interesting thing is, like, I almost feel like it might be best for Ricard and Shan to lose the next challenge and get rid of Genie, because I feel like Shan has, particularly for Shan, maybe Shan more than Ricard, because I think, like, she's really showing, like, her hand a bit. Like, I think for someone who plays such a good game of building trust with people and sort of being that sort of, she's got the evil theme song playing in her head. She's sort of, I think, like, almost overplayed and, like, showing people that she's pretty ruthless. But the great news is, if, like, Genie goes, there's no witnesses to that. Like, so they get rid of all the witnesses. then it's just her and Ricard, who are a type 2. They are working together, and they can spin whatever story they want about what happened on the UR tribe. So I'd almost be, if I was Green, pretty tempted to throw the challenge and go, hey, we got to get rid of Genie. She's going to blow up our guess. She's the witness. And then we can just be a strong 2 that can sort of be a swing, or we can, help other people get a vote, like help, sort of, we won't be too threatening as a pair as well at the merge. So
yeah, like a Malcolm and Denise kind of thing.
Yeah.
Matt, you know who you sound like? You sound a little like Danny and Deshaun challenge.
Yes.
Jeff Probst asked on Twitter, for people that follow him, he said, I want to know what you would do. Would you ever throw a challenge to get rid of somebody? And he said that he probably would never do it, and I would never do it. But they were gung-ho.
They were. Would you ever do it, Kevin?
No, I think the whole throwing challenge thing remains kind of ridiculous, no matter what the context is, really, unless you truly have like a Brandon Hance kind of situation in Caramoan, where like this person is so toxic that we just literally have to get him out for our sanity. Like in this case, like, we're doing all this so we can vote out Erica. Like, is she really causing that much drama? Like, I don't know. I think they're honestly just bored because they haven't gotten to really play the game yet.
Yeah, well, I disagree with both of you guys. I think there is a context in which, like, you should throw chat. Like, I think it's all context, and it's all about what's going to serve you in the game, getting to the end and winning those jury votes. So if you need to, I think particularly sometimes after swaps, it can particularly be maybe helpful to save allies that have just been moved to other tribes. But yes, but like, whether in this context it was the right decision, I think it's a better question. It seemed like the two sort of reasons we were given was, first, boy, this Erica, she's sort of wanting to get rid of Sydney. She's wanting to throw the challenge. Maybe she's wanting to start playing pretty hard. She could be a liability. Let's get rid of her. I think the other interesting one that I heard from, it was Deshaun who wanted to throw the challenge, wasn't it? Or was it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
the other thing that I don't think I've ever heard articulated on Survivor, so that was interesting, was if we go into the merge 6 strong, people are going to just want to be taking shots at us. The other 2 tribes will team up against us. We don't want to be too strong going into the merge. We've definitely seen sometimes, like with Malcolm and Denise in Philippines, the strength of having a small group sometimes that's unthreatening, but we haven't seen many people ever talk about the sort of weakness of having a big group at a merge when you've got a 3-tribe format. And I'm not sure if I quite agree that it was that much of a liability, but it was interesting. Never heard that sort of articulated before.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I think it's a
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's a fair argument in this context because I think this tribe is not one that is going to stay 6 strong, probably going into a merge. We've seen the Discord have the just nonsense with like Nasir and the back and forth with that. Sydney and Erica, like, it's just all kind of a mess. I don't think this is going to be like, we're 6 strong, we're just like undeniable here. It's going to be messy. So I guess, yes, in that argument, which is definitely one I haven't heard before either, that does make sense. I just am kind of like questioning why do this all just to get out Erica, personally.
Yeah. I totally agree. What do you think, Marcus?
Luvu has 6, but the other tribes at this point have 3 and 4. So if Luvu wins again, it's basically those 6 against the other 2 combined. So we're getting to a point where it would be, a rock situation if Jishan's theory were to come true.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That like they've got and even if there was a tribe swap or something, like there's a good chance they will have a tribe where they've got the majority, and in that situation they could maybe just throw the challenge then to save the other Luvu members and keep that sort of group of 6 from 12. So yeah, that's a really good point with the numbers. Like if you've got 6 out of 12, as long as you can trust everyone, that becomes much less of a liability than a situation where if the 2 other tribes combine, they become the majority of the merged group. So no, so yeah, I probably question whether it was super necessary here. But regardless, a bit of a moot point, because as much as they tried, they could not overcome JD's money shots at the. They could not do as bad as JD at tossing rings as much as they wanted to. And actually, the second time in Survivor history where a tribe has attempted to throw a challenge only to be foiled and not be able to be as bad as the Green tribe. Because I believe, wasn't it Tony in his first season who tried to throw a challenge to get Cliff out, and then Cliff was able to beat Spencer at shooting baskets?
There you go.
Your memory is incredible. I'm just gonna say yes, you're right.
I think that's right. Anyway, people can comment. Feel free to comment and add a correction if I'm wrong about that. What do we think? Like, I actually think what I liked about this episode is we saw more of the dynamics of the blue tribe, the Luvu tribe, than we had before. So I thought that was pretty cool, because since they haven't gone to tribal yet, I feel like we haven't got to see much play out with them. We've pretty much just seen what do people think about Nasir each week. And I thought it was pretty interesting to see who's sort of in the driver's seat there, and Erica maybe sort of like trying to make a move, but then that sort of backfires a little bit. And then we see in the challenge Heather, a really emotional moment for her. What do you think of that, Kevin?
Honestly, what happened with Heather is probably my worst case scenario if I was on Survivor. Just like everyone's eyes are on me. I have to do the task alone. No one can help me. And I just keep failing over and over again. And I just don't know what I'm doing wrong. And yeah, I I definitely feel for her in that moment. And I understand why she really broke down. It is funny also, though, just looking back at the number of times that other contestants have failed in a challenge and they get like the dopey music, or they get like called out by Jeff and being like, this guy's totally like making this tribe fail, and here it's just like this beautiful uplifting moment. I don't know, it was an interesting change in what we normally see.
That's interesting, yeah, because when you're in the show, you're not imagining that when you're doing that badly, you're probably going to get a good edit from it. You probably are
Right.
imagining the dopey music and all that sort of thing. What do you think, Mark?
My question is, who's Heather? Like, this is episode 4. I don't remember ever seeing this person before. I mean, no
it's really been her first moment of the series.
And what a moment, too. I mean, that was probably the most, emotional moment so far of season 41. That and the baby turtles were my favorite moments of this episode. And like Jeff said, sometimes the non-game strategy moments are the best on Survivor. Sometimes it's just the tiny, intimate human/turtle moments that really, get people.
Yeah, no, Yasa with the turtles are a huge win for them, a new food source on their beach that they could tap into. Yes?
Wait,
is that?
I don't think they were eating them.
What? Why wouldn't you? No, I'm joking. I wouldn't eat the turtles. I know people are going to think I'm a monster.
I
was joking.
And I did.
I was joking. I'm just so used to on Survivor when they find animals, there being some big argument as to whether we eat them or not. Like on what was it? Game Changers when Sandra found the baby goat.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was the girl, I think her name was Wendy, and she didn't she let the chickens go because she didn't want people to eat the chickens. I love.
There's always a big argument. I would imagine, just to argue against myself, that they would not be allowed to eat the turtles. I imagine sort of those sorts of animals, there's probably like, they start bringing the machete over, they would say, no, they're protected.
I think the producers would give them chickens. Like, if you're going to eat that turtle, you're going to get a chicken instead, because we want to save
it is. I'm sure on Survivor there are a list of things you like, endangered species or protected animals that you're not allowed to eat. Yes, very good. But I also liked but I don't always love those emotional challenge moments. To like, okay, yeah, let's get to the strategy of the episode. But what I did like about the one with Heather was it did show a bit about who her tribe was and showed a bit about the dynamics. That Danny was a guy that was really about inspiring others, and he's like, no, we all fail sometimes, and it sort of gave you a bit of a window into that tribe's attitude, because I think there'd be other tribes where there'd be people rolling their eyes or getting frustrated, but it really seemed to bring them together as a tribe, which was nice.
And you mentioned Nasir earlier. It's funny, every other episode, he's either on the top or on the bottom in terms of what people think of him. And this episode, I mean, he won the challenge for his tribe, so they're loving him right now. Well,
like almost single-handedly won the challenge.
Shan and Danny probably aren't loving him because they wanted to throw it, but the others are.
Yeah, even they were like not as annoyed as I thought they'd be. Like, I think one of them in a confessional goes, Nasir, he won it, but he deserves a moment like that. Like, so like, yeah, Nasir's back on top. And I think, every second episode, I think, boy, if Blue lose, Nasir's gone.
Yeah.
And every other episode, you're like today, if Blue had gone, Nasir's not getting a vote.
No.
I think
he's not even in it's Sydney, it's Erica. Like,
yeah, it would have been 4 versus 2, Erica versus Sydney. I don't know. It would have been fun to see them go.
There's a chance they just all vote out Erica. Like,
maybe.
That is interesting, since not everyone was in on throwing the challenge. How like it also would have meant there wouldn't have been a chance to talk about, okay, we're throwing the challenge to get rid of this person. So there would have needed to be talks with Nasir about who to vote for and Heather who to vote for. So, yeah.
Yeah, if they had just, whispered to Nasir beforehand, like, hey, buddy, we're throwing it, he wouldn't have tried as hard.
Yeah.
Or would he be too paranoid that they're throwing it so that they can vote me out?
Yeah.
I don't know. So.
Oh, boy. Yeah. So there you go. It's a wild. The Yasa tribe. We didn't see a whole lot of what was going on with them this week, other than the turtles.
Evie got a good moment where she was comparing the turtles to their tribe and how they were down on their luck and people counted them out, but now they're going to persevere. It's every episode she gets a special moment like that. So I think, are you guys both predicting her to win? Because she is getting a really good edit.
No.
I was predicting Shan. I don't think this necessarily improves Shan's standing in the game, but I might still stick with Shan. I find it hard to change like my winner's pick until I'm like seen something really pop. But yeah, I think Evie's in a great spot.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, my position on my winner pick being Shan is slightly loosening with each episode, to be honest. I mean, she's getting so much great content. She's almost like the protagonist of the season, but almost too much, I would say.
If they do a heroes versus villains again, she is definitely gonna be on the villains tribe, and I'm gonna love it.
Yeah, I think like I think you're right. It was the turtles, and Abby described that sort of like this great comeback and the team you'd count out. I thought it was also funny when you consider that in the first episode, Xander was like, "We're not gonna be a David tribe." And then like cut to 3 episodes later and Evie's giving like a pretty much very quintessential David quote, like type of thing, like the underdog that you don't count out sort of thing to describe their tribe.
Speaking of Xander, do you guys think he said his quote again and they just didn't air it?
This is why I'm even a bit surprised he said it last week. Like, why say it until you've heard the 2 other sayings?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Right. Yeah.
Does he have to say it when, like, do producers say, well, no, when Jeff calls on you, that is your opportunity to say it. If you don't say it, then it doesn't count. I don't know. But I'm guessing he didn't, just because, well, why would you unless other people are saying the thing?
Right.
And he knows Brad's gone, who found it.
Right. So the likelihood of that happening with, another person finding it on UA and Luvu finding it are probably not as likely it's probably too soon. Maybe next week.
At this stage, the producers need to just get the Luvu one and just put it next to the fire and be like, okay, this was apparently hidden too hard for you guys, so we're just going to drop it right here.
Right.
Yeah. No, I think it's a good point. Yeah, well, Marcus, how's the prediction center looking at the moment? Give us the goal. You can go to goldderby.com and make your survivor predictions each week by signing up for an account. Pretty easy to sign up. It's all free, all that sort of thing. And what's it looking like at the moment, Marcus?
The winner predictions are people we've mentioned. Shan at number 1, Evie at number 2, Ricard at number 3. The elimination predictions for next week have changed dramatically. For the first time, Erica is at number 1. And I think we know why. Because she did not have a good episode. She thinks she's on top of her tribe and she's going to call the shot, but really everyone is going to vote her out the first time they lose.
Yeah. Predicts the blue tribe. Predict someone to get voted out of the blue tribe at your own risk. I have been burnt by this the past couple of weeks. Blue. It is interesting that Luvu is doing so well and has such sort of a plurality of votes, but is not in the mix for winner predictions at all. Everyone's predicting people from the other 2 tribes. But I imagine that's because we have seen more of the people from those 2 tribes because they have been a tribal.
Deshaun's in 4th place, so he's the guy with his tribe.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. He's playing a good game. He does seem to be calling the shots a little bit there with the throwing the challenge. So in a good spot. Yeah. Who's your winner predict? Now you said Ricard. Marcus.
Yeah, I'm sticking with him for now.
No, he's good. Yeah, you are. So any last comments on the episode, guys? Anything else?
I just like that we didn't have a whole lot of advantage nonsense to go through like a whole segment. And I don't think it's a coincidence that this was probably the best episode of the season because of that. Just saying.
I totally agree. Less advantage talk made me like this better. Except for, I will say at the end, I really thought Genie would play her shot in the dark. And I was getting excited. Like, we're finally going to see this happen. And then she didn't. And I was a little bit bummed. But good for her for not wasting it. JD should have played his, though.
Yeah. Yeah, it is funny. We see JD talking about the sort of got to make sure Genie doesn't play her shot in the dark, and then they do that to him. So, boy, yeah, it's wild episode. Great cast. This is a fantastic cast. I'm interested in each of the tribes. There's good characters in all of them. It's a really great season, and that definitely helps for the episodes every now and then. We're sort of like, oh, it's a bit boring who's getting voted out. You're just interested to see how things play out and where these characters go. Okay. Well, thanks, guys, for watching. We'll see you next week.